Okay, hey everybody. We're gonna read the next two chapters of the book Field Trip Fiasco together. And actually, we're gonna finish the book today. So hopefully next week we'll be able to start a new book and talk about that. Um, so let's just jump into it. Yesterday when we finished, we had they had all just jumped onto the hayride on the tractor, and we're going to see where it takes them. Chapter 7, Scarecrows and Sneezes. The tractor grunted, then started to roll. They followed a long dirt path that circled around the edges of the farm. They saw rows of sprouts in the middle of brown fields and wondered what was growing beneath the green stems. "I think those are pumpkin plants," Kate said. "I think I see tomatoes," Aria said. They passed by a big red wooden barn full of hay and stalls for the farmer's horses. Next to the barn, a family of pigs snorted and stomped in a muddy puddle. Barrett thought it would be fun to jump in the puddle with the pigs, but didn't think his mom or teacher would think that was a good idea. Yeah, I agree. Achoo, achoo. The hay made Barrett sneeze, but it was worth it to be able to enjoy this ride with his friends. Mrs. V told them to stay in pairs to be safe, but he wondered if she also knew the trip was extra fun with a buddy. At the end of the hayride, the kids walked back toward the entrance of the farm. Nate felt like he swallowed a bucket of dust on the ride, and the girls had yellow bits of straw in their hair and on their clothes. "You look like scarecrows," Nate said, laughing. "We are scarecrows," the girls yelled, as they stiffened their arms and legs and walked without bending at all. Barrett sniffled a little bit and sneezed a few times. The farm was alive with sound and movement. Kids bustling from one area to the next, animals snorting, neighing, and mooing. "Hey guys," Barrett said, "I need to blow my nose. Can we stop at the bathroom?" Barrett thought he saw the kids nod their heads. He turned to the left and went into the bathroom. He blew his nose and blew it again. Then washed his hands and his face and shook the extra water from his hands. He whistled a happy tune as he went out to join his friends. "Hey Nate, want to trade sandwiches at lunch?" There was no answer. Barrett turned around in a circle and found himself all alone. It wasn't just his friends who disappeared. It seemed everyone was gone. Barrett stood, trying to be calm and trying to figure out what to do now. So we see that Barrett is all alone. What would you do if you were on a field trip and all of a sudden you were just standing there all alone? Your buddies had left you. How do you think you would feel in that moment? Think about that as we read the last chapter. Chapter 8, Who's Lost? Barrett's forehead wrinkled and he tapped his toe on the ground. How could everyone get lost on the farm? He thought for a moment, then scratched his head. "I know," he said aloud. "Everyone must be eating lunch. I just have to find the picnic blankets." Barrett walked into the bathroom building. Nothing. Then he walked past the little store. He noticed it earlier in the day. There was no one inside, just jars of homemade jam and little knickknacks and thingamabobs. He walked around one more time, just to be sure, but saw no one. He stood up on a bench to see if the blankets were in sight. Again, nothing. Barrett kept thinking, trying hard not to get scared. He walked back to where he and his friends took the hayride. The tractor was turned off, the dust settled, and the farmer had moved on to other chores. The animal nursery was his next stop. He found the animals, some resting quietly now. A little peep, a small moo, a kid trying to eat his shoelaces, but no Aria, Nate, or Kate. "What am I going to do?" he said. Barrett walked toward the front gate. He found the picnic blankets, but no kids. "What is going on here?" he shouted. He was afraid to go to the parking lot to see if the bus was still there. What if it wasn't there? What if it was? Barrett looked for the games. Nothing. He tried to find the man in blue overalls. He was nowhere. Barrett sat on the ground with a thud. I like the farm, he thought to himself, but I don't want to be a farmer. What am I supposed to do? He put his head in his hands, then ran his fingers through his hair. He was afraid. It was the same feeling he felt when he thought about entering the corn maze. Oh no, the corn maze. Maybe he should be scared. Maybe everyone was stuck in the corn maze and they needed his help. He didn't want to stay by himself with all of his friends and classmates lost. He knew he needed to be brave. He stood up and brushed the hay and dirt off his pants. Achoo! He sneezed and wiped his nose on his sleeve. He pulled his shoulders back, lifted his head up high, and marched toward the maze. He wasn't going to let his fear keep him from saving his friends from the tall stalks. I can do it, he said in a strong voice. I can do it, he said, this time a little softer. Can I do it? He asked himself. Achoo! I can, Barrett said bravely. Barrett walked into the maze. It was shady and cool, the stalks towering over his head. He walked straight ahead until the path ended. He had to decide, right or left. Turn left, said the voice in Barrett's head. I can do it, he said aloud. Barrett followed the path. It wound around to the left, then back to the right. Is anybody there? A voice called. Barrett thought at first he was talking to himself again, but he realized it was a girl's voice. Arya, is that you? An excited voice responded. It's me. Barrett started running toward the voice, and smack, he ran right into Arya. Barrett, where were you? We couldn't find you anywhere, so we decided to look for you in the maze, and we all got lost. Remember, I said I needed to blow my nose. I went to the bathroom, and when I came out, everyone was gone. I'm sorry, Barrett, I didn't hear you. None of us did. Okay, Barrett said. Let's find everyone else, find our way out, and find some lunch. I'm starved. Arya smiled, and the two friends started walking. They curved to the left, took another left, and followed the path to the right. Then they walked right into Kate and Nate. The kids jumped up and down happily and kept walking to find their way out. Around the next turn, they found Nico and Eric. A little later, they found Vincent and Chloe. Soon, the whole class was standing in a group right in the middle of the maze, still not sure how to find their way out. Kids, look up here. It was Mrs. V. She stood on top of a platform that overlooked the maze. Follow my directions and you'll be out of there in no time at all. Mrs. V talked the kids through the maze, and they all piled out. Anybody hungry? She asked. The kids followed their teacher to the picnic blankets and sat down to eat. Barrett, do you want to trade sandwiches? Nate asked. Barrett smiled and nodded to his friend. The students ate and talked about all the day's adventures. Kids, it's time to get back on the bus. Be sure to bring your buddy, Mrs. V said. The students lined up 2 by 2, then 4 by 4, until everyone was hooked arm in arm, skipping all the way back to the bus. No one is getting lost now. We are all sticking together, Barrett said. Okay, so that's the end of the book. And in the end, we have we have a little reflection from Barrett, and we have some discussion questions, some vocabulary we can look at, a writing prompt, and there's a Q&A with the author. That means question and answer. So there's a question there, and she answers the question. There's a place for us to make connections, and it tells us a little more about the author and about the illustrator, the person who drew the pictures, the illustrator. So if you want to read any of those, just pause the video and go ahead and read them. But I think I want us to kind of focus on the vocabulary. So if you look at the vocabulary, there is the list of words. The first one is allergies. emerged, knickknacks, overalls, platform, scarecrow, stalks. Why don't you choose one of those words and one or two of those words and use them in a sentence after looking them up, or look them all up. It's really good for us to get more familiar with different types of words. All right, that's all for today. I hope you guys learned a lot and enjoyed the reading of Field Trip Fiasco. Let me know if there's a different kind of book you'd like to hear next week. Thanks.